Hi, I'm Brandon Poe, founder of Poe Group Advisors and creator of the Accounting Practice Academy. You are listening to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast, where we talk about stuff in the accounting world. If you're looking to buy or sell a practice, we are the premier accounting practice intermediary firm in the industry. Check us out at PoeGroupAdvisors.com. If you're a firm owner looking to build a more profitable practice while actually reducing owner hours, sign up for our practice management workshop, which only runs a few times per year. Learn more at accountingpracticeacademy.com. All right, welcome to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. I've got two distinguished guests on today, and we're going to talk about some tech stuff today, which is pretty cool. It's a topic we haven't really covered at length, especially with AI and a lot of automation coming on stream. I thought it was time to bring some tech into our podcast. So we have Jesse Rubenfeld, who's the founder and CEO of FinOptimal, and Tom Zehentner, the company's director of growth. And they are driving innovation in the accounting field. Jesse's got a background in finance, including roles at LimeWire and D.E. Shaw Research, where he developed coding skills to streamline accounting processes. And then you've got Tom's experience as a CPA with a passion for automation. They lead a tech company that offers solutions to accountants and business leaders, addressing their pain points and enabling growth. Their unique approaches to solving accounting challenges inspired the creation of FinOptimal. And they also have a podcast, and it's called, very creative name, Not Another Accounting Podcast. So go check that out. It's a satirical, different sort of distinctive perspective on business. Jesse holds degrees from Penn, Wharton, and Columbia. You reside in Houston, and Tom graduated from Binghamton University and lives in Brooklyn. I get all that right? Did I say it all right?
Perfect. To a T.
No, he didn't. Come on, Binghamton. You can call him out. It's Binghamton.
Binghamton. Okay.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, Jesse's defending the upstate college that nobody outside of New York knows about. So this is going to be really relevant for all of the other states that are listening. But thanks for having us. Excited to be here. Yeah,
this is going to be an interesting conversation. It's funny, Jesse and I got connected through EO. Tom, are you an EO member as well?
I am not. I got connected to Jesse through my college roommate from Binghamton, though. So we're right off to the
connections. Connections are key. Baby. It's who you know in this world.
Exactly. So no, I'm not an EO.
Okay. Well, so we got connected.
He's not an EO yet.
Yet. Yeah.
Yes.
Tom. It's a matter of time, right? Right, Jesse?
Exactly.
Well, I'd like to know how you guys got into what you're doing. How'd you get into this industry? Whoever wants to go first.
Jesse, why don't I tell how you got into it and you tell how I got into it? You think that's a fun game?
Okay, yeah, I like it. All right. Do it.
So Jesse was always interested in coding from a young age. He actually liked keeping score for baseball more than playing, like moving the numbers around. He was always like a very process-oriented person, right, Jesse? I remember that.
So far, so good.
You like the scorekeeping. So you're always interested in tech. Took classes in college, were interested in tech. There wasn't as much self-service, kind of like a Stack Overflow back then. If there was, you probably would have been an engineer from the jump, right?
Wow.
But you went to school for business. You studied music. He was a musician. He performed in front of Billy Joel. Great video. Google Jesse Rubenfeld, Billy Joel performance. It's really awesome. So then Jesse always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and he, when he was graduating from Penn, looked up jobs on monster.com. Was it, Jesse?
Yeah.
It was one of those websites back then. Okay. And he found a job at the Lime Group, which was the group of companies within LimeWire. LimeWire was one of those companies, and they needed an accountant. So Jesse said, you know what, I'm going to be an accountant. I guess I want to work for Mark, who owns LimeWire and the Lime Group. Took a job there just doing accounting and was like, okay, this is completely inefficient the way that we're doing these things, and just really was borrowing and stealing from the engineers at LimeWire and started putting together code to automate his job. And it kind of just spiraled into this love for automating accounting. Took that to D.E. Shaw Research, eventually founded FinOptimal, right? And now we're here. So Jesse, how'd I do?
That was good. There's no way I'm doing half that good for you. That was
Yeah, I was excited to
perfect.
hear what you completely.
Even Monster. How do you remember Monster? I feel like, wow, good for you. Good
I have
for
a good
me.
memory. Go ahead. Now you do me. Let's see how you get this.
Okay. So Tom started out. He did an accounting degree.
Yes.
That's one of the great paths from Binghamton to success as you become an accountant. You went to work for Protiviti. No, that was your second job.
No,
Protiviti was first.
You're right. You're good.
Right. Okay. You did consulting. So you got a sense of sort of the large company feel, working with clients. You got exposure to how to be a professional, which is something I still aspire to do. And then you, from there, you went to WeWork.
Yes.
Second job.
Correct.
You worked in internal audit.
Correct.
Right. Somewhere in the middle of this, I guess at Protiviti, you got your CPA.
Before Protiviti, but yes, you're good. You're on the right track.
Okay, good. And inside, okay, big company at a big time for WeWork, right?
Yes.
So there was a lot of internal audits going on.
There was a lot of audit stuff to be auditing for sure.
So you got a sense.
Party time
at WeWork. And I remember you telling me a lot about using low code and no code tools to help automate your various processes. And as someone who values efficiency, I think when Eric came to talk to you about what we were doing at FinOptimal, maybe you thought, wow, some of the stuff that I was doing at WeWork and internal audit, some of the automation, this is what this company does all day.
The things that I wanted to do the most of, that I only could get some exposure to. Eric, who is our director of ops, said, what if you just do that all the time for us? He took me out to lunch, and he was planning on trying to get me to work here. And I thought it was just friends catching up. He threw me a lifeline. I never in a million years would have expected to work at a startup, work in sales, or work in product, especially that quickly. And 3 weeks later, I had a signed offer letter and was working for FinOptimal. So
wait a second. He took you out to lunch?
We split it.
Okay.
So actually, I'm going to need my $13 back. I'm going to expense that if you don't mind.
All right. We have our sales numbers. Yeah.
So we got there. How's that for a background?
Wow. I mean, it's an interest. Both of you have had, pretty interesting paths. I mean, WeWork. We could have a podcast about WeWork, I would imagine.
Anytime.
Were you there when it kind of blew up on the founder?
I was there. I joined 2 months before the Adam Newman era came to an end. I lived through COVID and then going public. I lived through the SPAC too. So I joined WeWork with the hopes of being there when they went public. And I did get to see that through. It was a roller coaster, but I mean, it was such a fun place to work that, even, maybe I'm going to lose my job today. Maybe I'm not. I wouldn't have traded it for the world. It was a really, really great experience. So many awesome people work there and still do.
So now, how long ago, did you guys how long ago was FinOptimal founded? When did you start?
So I started FinOptimal in about 2015, while still working another job. This is a time when QuickBooks was investing heavily in its QuickBooks Online platform. And in particular, they were exposing and filling out their API, their application program interface that allows third-party developers like FinOptimal to get data into QuickBooks and to pull data out, which is really a key element of automation, making systems talk to each other. So I started taking private clients whose workflows could drastically improve, as they could at my day jobs, through automation of this type. And I started taking clients, and then eventually, some years later, went full-time with it, raised some capital to hire a sales team, to hire more developers, and to hire more accountants too, to help us do our clients' business. We really started as a monthly bookkeeping service. But it's tech enabled, right? We're automating the work that most other accountants are doing manually, and that allows us to sell cheaper accounting services.
Yeah.
And as the company's evolved, we're now trying to sell the automation itself so that other accounting firms can leverage
can
That
I wouldn't
benefit.
say try. We are selling it for
Yeah.
sure. And
yes,
people
well
love it.
put. Well
People
put.
love
What's one of the what's an example, a really probably widely known example of something maybe that's currently easy to to automate that most people are not automating?
I mean,
Is there,
yeah, I hate to plug and sell a product. So, but our product, the Accruer, can automate deferred revenue, prepaid expenses, accrued payroll, and fixed asset depreciation directly in QuickBooks. And like Jesse touched on it, we're tech enabled. Like we are really tech enabled. We built tools that automate specific parts of the accounting process, eliminate manual journal entries, so that our accountants have to do less calculation, right? Less data entry, and can review the outcome of software rather than put something manually into a different piece of software just so that piece of software can talk with QuickBooks, which is what so many other tech-enabled products do, right? We are really on the cutting edge of automating the actual accounting work. So, Accruals is our flagship app, the Accruer, it's called. You literally put plain English into the description in QuickBooks. Hey, this expense is for the period of October 2023 to September 2024. All 12 months worth of journal entries calculated and booked instantly. Like that to us is true automation. And that's why we're have our own podcast, and we're on podcasts to talk about what we think accounting automation really is and should be: eliminating manual journal entries. Accounting practice automation, there's a lot of really good apps out there too. And that also adds a lot of value, right? Did the client send in the documents, right? Did the preparer complete it? Is it ready for review? Does it need to go back for comments? All of that admin work is really, really good to automate. There's a lot of great apps out, Carbon, right? Keeper, Canopy. These are great practice management apps. And we're solving different issues for the same group of people, right? We're focusing on, use them to organize your work, but let us do the actual work for you. So, there's just so many different things out there. And Brandon, you asked a question like, what's an easy thing to automate? I think it's a better question is like, where should you start with automation, right? There's so many apps out there. There's so many things, and it's really thinking about how to select. It's overwhelming. How to select your first use case, I think, is really, really important, right? Figure out what to do first, and then go find the app or the team or the person that can automate it for you.
yeah. Are there like a few really normal, like first automation steps that you can think of, like where should 80% of accounting firm owners start? Could it be that narrow? Like maybe there's 2 or 3 places to start that are common?
I'll let Jesse go first, and then I have an idea, because I've done this exercise with a lot of different accounting groups, but you go first, Jesse.
I think that probably expense management and accounts payable are the 2 places that most people are going to start, because every business spends money. Even if you don't care about accrual accounting, mistake, and you're booking just cash in, cash out, you have cash out probably besides payroll. And how you get those transactions into your general ledger, as Tom said, right? What we focus on is accounting automation, which means how do I not have to book this journal entry manually? And expense transactions, companies like Expensify, Ramp, who are some of the other ones that we, a lot of our clients use. Bill.com, now called Bill, for accounts payable, like dealing with those invoices and paying those vendors without having to send a wire or send a check. That's very low-hanging fruit that by this point in the game, every accounting firm should be exploring.
Yeah. I think that's a good answer. And to answer your question more generally, because I do think it's first of all, it depends where you are on the spectrum, right? Like, for example, if you are just, looking for new clients, right? Or you have existing clients who are submitting requests for information, right? Maybe you start using Google Forms so that you collect data in a structured way, right? Like that's a really easy thing to do that you wouldn't even consider it really being automation, but you're using tech to provide structure and process, right? People process technology is the core of being efficient. It's not some magical AI app that's you're gonna snap your fingers and it's gonna work. And it's certainly not an army of bodies that just come in and do everything manually. the way that I've always really explored this process is like, think about the three most important characteristics of an automatable process, right? And these are the three. It's repetitive. It happens again and again and again. It is structured, right? Meaning the data is in the same place every single time, or it looks the same most of the time. And there are business rules. If it's this, then do that. If it's this, then do that, right? Brainstorm parts of your process, big or small, that fit those three criteria, right? Just start with a brainstorming session with your team. If you're a firm owner, involve the junior folks on your team, because they're the ones that are living and breathing probably the most automatable pieces of your accounting cycle, right?
Right.
Once you have that, then you should really think about, okay, what is the impact if I automated this? How much time am I going to save? And how much time do I need to invest, right, to get there? Too often, I've seen this happen, like in my personal, past roles. A partner or somebody in leadership goes, we need to automate this process. We spend too much time there. It's like, well, that's not a good candidate for automation. And then you spend a ton of manpower and software engineering, all this time trying to tackle the elephant in the room, when a better approach would probably be, well, there are all these other small tasks that if we offloaded those, the elephant wouldn't be so hard to herd, right? So again, I really think repetition, structure, business rules, start there and then decide, because every business is going to be different.
If you own a CPA practice, you're no stranger to the grind. It's easy to get so buried in work that you lose sight of the bigger picture. Oftentimes, in order to improve, we need to change our point of view. Accounting Practice Academy by Poe Group Advisors gives you that fresh perspective, so you can achieve success on your terms. This virtual workshop gives you the tools and mindsets to grow your bottom line and make your firm less owner dependent. You'll use your firm's data to zoom out and see your challenges and opportunities with amazing clarity. Most APA members come to realize that pruning their clients and doing less will actually generate more income. Poe Group Advisors has sold hundreds of accounting practices. We know that the firms that are the easiest to operate are also the most valuable ones in the marketplace. APA is the only workshop built from that mergers and acquisitions perspective, which means our members build more valuable practices. Create a better practice for you and your employees to enjoy, or build it to sell. The choice is yours.
Have you looked at your practice the way a buyer would? It's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when buried in the finer details. With the lessons within our latest book, How to Prepare Your CPA Firm for a Sale, you'll learn to build upon your firm's success and make your firm more enjoyable for you and your staff or a future buyer. Go to pogroupadvisors.com/prepare for your free copy.
Yeah. Now, this might be out of your wheelhouse, but I got approached, I don't know, a couple months ago about someone who uses bots to automate processes, and they wanted to do a sample for me. And we were in the midst of changing platforms, so I didn't want to do it. But, like we have an e-signature platform, and it's like 10 clicks to get the document to go. And we've gone to the software provider, and they don't have a immediate solution for it. Is that something that could be automated? Like, can you automate? How difficult is it to create automation for apps that are maybe, there's so many apps. We've got an e-signature platform, we've got a CRM, we've got, it seems overwhelming when you look at all the different applications that you're trying to manage.
Yeah. Great. So you said bots, right? If you guys listen
and
to,
I don't know what that means. Just to be clear, like
listen,
I'm not a tech savvy. I don't pretend to be, but
Not Another Accounting Podcast, episode 31, RPA versus API. This was the last episode we just released. We specifically covered what does it even mean when you say bot. You can go on LinkedIn, Jesse Rubenfeld. You'll see clips. That exact clip is on LinkedIn right now, explaining in detail. We also have a blog on our website breaking this down. But I'll give you the high level overview, right? Like a bot is typically a reference to robotics process automation. It's a robot that you essentially train to click, type, scroll, just like you do. I have a lot of experience building bots. They're good for simple tasks. But they're going to interact with the computer screen just like you do, right? So is it repetitive? Yeah, I'm doing 10 clicks every time. Are there business rules? Yes, I click this, then I click this, then I click that in that order. But is it structured? And that's where it's going to break down, right? Think about how often QuickBooks changes their interface. Think about how often all these apps change their interface. So if I'm building a bot that's clicking and you log in tomorrow morning and you didn't realize that they were changing the layout of the screen, well, now somebody's got to go back in and fix that bot, right? So bots are easier to learn and implement, but they can be fickle. Where we really like to, what we like to use for automation is the API. Really, like, we like to pull the data out of the system in its most granular form and then transform it. I mean, Jesse is the API guru, so I'll let him kind of chime in on that. But, the RPA topic is such a good one. So I'm glad you brought this up.
I mean, Tom, I think you really covered it. Bots, right? Something that you make just imitate you, right? Like if you think of a monkey and you manage to get the monkey to imitate you, logging onto your bank, pulling the statement and pulling the activity. And then one day, like, they move the box from one side of the screen to the other, or they put an intermediate, like, two-factor authentication. Exactly. And now the monkey has lost its way, and you got to, like, retrain the monkey. So that's bot versus, wow, the bank wants you to be able to pull that information.
Yeah.
They're making a little bit more technically sophisticated methods to make that data available to you. If you take advantage of them, it's a steeper learning curve to make it happen, but it's much more robust. It doesn't break.
Brandon, you said, can you build a bot for that? Yes, you can build a bot for anything. And we are the automation guys, and we would tell you, don't build a bot for that, right? Like, you need to be wary of people who are just going to tell you to automate everything. Because yeah, you could automate it, but is it a good candidate? Think about the three things: repetitive, structured, business rules. That structured is a big question mark, and you're not in control of the structure. So I probably would not, or I'd proceed very cautiously, right? And really think through all of the implications of screens changing and things like that before I invested money in automating it.
Yeah. We're just begging the company to please make it less clicks. Like, you fix your own software, please. But we'll see if they do that.
Yeah.
Wow. So, how do you think, like, Jesse, you've been doing this since 2015, you mentioned. Where are we in terms of the journey of this whole thing? Like, is this going from 2015 to 2035? Is this going to 2025? Like, where are we on the journey?
Are we talking about FinOptimal or automation in the accounting industry? What's
automation,
the scope of your question?
Automation in the accounting industry.
Okay, great question. I mean, first of all, I think it's the most exciting time to be in this industry.
Definitely.
I would say that we are midway. I think there's still plenty of accountants that have not been forced yet by market forces to automate things that rightly should be automated. Meaning, I think there's still a lot of inefficiency built into a lot of what we focus on: the CAS practice, the client accounting services, AKA bookkeeping, outsourced accounting. I think a lot of accountants recognize that they want it, but there's not, and some of the tools that we mentioned at the beginning, like bill.com, I think has almost universal recognition. But at the beginning, we put many clients on that platform. So, right, I think you asked where's somewhere you start, and we said, AP, for example, bill.com, Bill.
Yeah.
That when I started FinOptimal, nobody knew bill.com. And when we had a client, we'd put them on it. Oh, I don't know. What is the now? Oh, we're already on bill.com. Yeah. So I think that there's a few more kind of major categories of automation that have yet to come. And we are building some of those and are already using them on some of our internal clients. But I don't think it's 2035. I think it's, next 5 years, we're gonna see as big a shift as we saw for the last 5 years. So I think it's a fairly rapid change.
I'm going to say, but you said middle. but like there's a never ending half-life here. Like when the guys invented the envelope, they're probably like, yeah, this is pretty much it. They never in a wildest dreams could imagine I could FaceTime somebody right now and be like, hey, I'm on a podcast. Like, what's up?
There's
like,
probably,
so it's never going to end.
There's probably like a Moore's law equivalent to the accounting industry that, you know, capacity doubles and costs halve every, I forget how frequently.
Yeah. Let's get into theoretical
some
physics.
point,
Let's take it there.
Right. Let's go there. At some point you're up against, all right, but what do I want the accountant to be doing with their time that you can't really replace? If you don't believe that AI can entirely supplant every professional service, it logically extends, all right, we will still have accountants, lawyers, doctors, etc. And how are they going to spend their time? They're not going to spend their time keying in data. They're not going to be spending time gathering information that can be an easily prepared automated report. Hopefully we'll have streamlined professional services so that you are paying for somebody who's just doing stuff that computers cannot do. And there's plenty of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also not,
services.
It's not just the tech being there, it's the adoption of the tech too.
Yeah.
Right? That's a whole nother beast of you. It's not good enough to just build something. People have to know how to use it. It has to be intuitive, right? So great. Someone can put out an app that does AI, whatever, make up some other thing that everybody else is making up. But if nobody can actually understand it or use it effectively, it's a waste. That's why we're so passionate about people understanding the building blocks so that when AI eventually gets to a place where it is useful, they understand, oh, well, I've used other tools before, and this is just another robot, a more sophisticated robot, but I can understand probably how it's thinking. Like, so we always talk about training yourself to think like a robot so that you can make a robot think like you, right? That's really, really important to embracing automation.
Yeah.
Brandon, I'm interested in how your industry, how you perceive, I mean, right? You make introductions. That's a big part of what you do. And in theory, that's highly automatable, but in practice, right? People who make introductions continue to make a very good living because it turns out to be pretty hard to automate that.
Yeah, because we get so many little nuanced insights about people and fit. So yeah, I hadn't really thought about being extinguished by AI, but yeah, I think we're probably okay for a while.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's just it's a fascinating thing. Like, it is an exciting time to be in this industry. And I would say that, one thing that's kind of going alongside all of this is the staffing shortage. And I used to think that tech was really going to transform the accounting industry. And I still believe that's true, but I think the real thing that sparked the whole tech adoption, or it's in the process of sparking more and more tech adoption, is the staffing shortage. You have to automate because you don't have the people. So it's kind of forcing this to happen, which is, I don't know if you're seeing that on your end.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. We've had to hire, we've had a lot of difficulty hiring accountants over the past few years. And that is a big driver of, all right, well, if I can't hire someone for a reasonable price, the work still needs to get done. I'm being paid by part of it is prices are rising, right? Yeah. Outsourced accounting services, tax return prep, audit, these services are becoming more expensive. It's so funny though, Brendan, when I was just graduating college, I remember an article in the Wall Street Journal that talked about professions vulnerable to automation, and accounting was number one.
Wow.
Maybe people said, I'm not going into accounting. It's number one.
Interesting.
Definitely not, because my mom basically made me be an accountant because we were coming out of the recession when I went to school. So I
look, I think it's an immensely valuable skill. I think
for sure.
It's just that what you're doing all day today versus what you were doing all day 20 years ago when I got out of school has almost entirely been turned on its head.
Yeah.
Right. At the time, it was very, very forward thinking to be trying to integrate automation into accounting workflows. Right. And now if you're not doing it, you need to be going to webinars and conferences to figure out what
But I don't
products
think
to
people
use.
know that. Like many people do, but there's still so many that don't, right? Like I feel like I deal with this all the time. They're just, no, that's just how and you're right, Jesse. The people that started around that same time have just grown into what their leader looked like at that time. They haven't evolved, right? They've grown into the same track that they saw. And it's because change is hard. Like automation, changing the way that you think and do things is hard and it's uncomfortable, but not changing is going to be harder, right? Like I see all these firms now where partners are doing bank recs because they don't have staff and they can't figure out someone to do. Like, is that really better than setting aside a little bit of extra time for a month to do a full-blown automation exercise, think about where I should really be embracing it, invest a little bit of time and have it pay off dividends. Capital time.
That's what I
But
call it.
It's
It's
just
going to be a pain right now.
You are preach on, because it's it's frustrating from my point of view, because a lot of sellers are retirement age or approaching retirement age, right? And so I feel like adoption in that age group in the industry has been probably slower. I see a lot of younger cloud firm owners that are growing rapidly and they're adopting all of this stuff. And man, there's just this big gap between the generations in adoption here. Then like what you're saying, Tom, like partners doing bank recs, like do something before it gets to that. Like, like put some planning time in there and you won't have to live that. So
I'm reminded
I saw big four partners doing cash confirmations. I saw that with my own eyes because of staffing shortages.
Like sending out the letters to the clients.
Exactly. Like what they give to staff, right? Because of staffing shortages. It's real. It's a real thing. Like, so like you said, Brandon, do something before it gets there.
Yeah. You got to have that margin time. I call it margin time, like build in margins. You need to have good profit margins. You need to have good time margins. You don't need to be pushing everything to the limit.
Which means you got to track all those things, and it can't be a big pain to track it. That's another system, your time tracking system. Time is money.
I hate time tracking so much.
Yeah. Well, so you're still running an accounting firm, it sounds like. So you've got your what is the expression? You're eating your own dog food. Is that, I've heard that.
Drinking your own champagne.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, drinking our own champagne.
I feel like at Google they said dog food, eat your own dog food, like use Gmail when you're working at Google, and that is eating your own dog food, but drinking your own champagne. Yeah, that's good.
That's better. Drinking your own champagne is way better. I like that. Yeah. So
as long as it's not Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So how optimized are you guys? I imagine highly so with your accounting practice.
I do think our service operation is very streamlined. I think FinOptimal, our company's name, optimal financial operations. But I think we're constantly striving to get better. Right? We have proprietary ways of handling bank reconciliation, accounts payable, data entry, dealing with expense allocation, payroll booking. There's a ton of different workflows that we think we've automated better than most of our competitors. And it's been labor intensive, a labor of love, to come up with these tools. And now we want to share them with other accounting firms that we think will need to save the time for the reasons we've already discussed.
Awesome. Well, I want to wrap up shortly here. I got a couple of questions. What are you guys currently reading? Any books, any book titles that you can share? Or maybe it's an app that you'd like to share, either one.
I'll let Jesse go first.
Let's see. No, you go first. I feel like I have to get out my Audible right now. I'm a book listener.
Okay.
I'm listening to a book called Time Echo. It's about composers from the 30s in Germany that were at the cutting edge of music theory. Arnold Schoenberg, Webern. and how some of their music reflects the political climate that they came up in professionally. Richard Strauss, and some other artists like that.
Interesting.
Totally off topic, but
Yeah.
Mine's gonna be way more off topic.
Oh, good.
The Howard Stern book, Howard Stern Comes Again. I'm not even a Howard Stern fan. It was just recommended to me, and it is fascinating. It's him reflecting on some of the most influential interviews that he's done and snippets of those interviews. And I really recommend reading it instead of listening to it, because he makes the point that when you read these celebrities' words, right, you memorialize them in a different way. It kind of takes out their voice and their persona that you're so used to seeing. And a lot of it's very introspective. These people open up, celebrities that I've never liked. I've completely changed my mind on them, but it's also really inspiring. Like, especially when you're working at a startup and you're trying to do something that feels like all of the odds are against you, right? To see people that were in your shoes in a totally different lens, but to like hear how they were thinking. And, because you see someone like Jon Stewart, you just think, oh, he's just the guy that was on Comedy Central, but like, you don't know what it took to get there.
Yeah.
So that book it's such an easy read too, but it's
Nice.
great. It's super entertaining.
Fun. Any cool apps that you've discovered lately or that you really like using on a regular basis?
Oh God.
I have one. I mean, so this one it's called Splitwise. It's been around for a long time. But so for example, in EO, I'm the treasurer for my forum. And when we go out and everybody has dinner, right? How do you keep track of the expense that you have to share if you're going to incur a lot of shared? Another good example is a bachelor party. One time I organized a bachelor party for 17 people, and some people did this activity, some people did that. So everybody gets that app, and you enter the things that the expenses you incur and you assign them who was present. And then at the end of the weekend, let's say, it kind of crunches all the numbers and says, all right, to settle this the most efficiently, Jesse, you pay Tom, you pay Brandon this amount, and then all the debts are settled. Great.
That's cool. Tell us the name of that again. It's
called Splitwise.
Splitwise. That's very cool. Yeah.
I'll probably say video.ai. It's I've tried it. It's pretty good, but I think a lot of people are trying to do content now. And it's a website app. You could upload this entire podcast and it will smartly clip different parts of this and add captions automatically to it. And you can create like a branded template. You can create multiple branded templates. So this is my YouTube template. This is my Instagram template, my LinkedIn template, and it will automatically generate clips for all of those different social medias. And then you can just export the clip and put it up. There's definitely some fine tuning that you have to do, but it does a pretty good job. It gets you pretty close. So vidyo.ai. It's really good if you're even trying to experiment with content. And if anyone from Video AI is listening, you can credit FinOptimal's account, please, or upgrade me for free.
I'm going to run right and tell Ian Brennan, who does all of our video on our team, about this app. See if he knows about it. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on our podcast. This has been entertaining and very informative. I'm sure our guests are gonna love this. Also, really quick before we close, love to find out the best way to connect with you. We'll put these, when we post, we'll put these in the show notes. So, is LinkedIn the best for both of you guys, probably, or?
Absolutely. LinkedIn. Check out Not Another Accounting Podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Check out our LinkedIn, Tom Zehentner, Jesse Rubenfeld, a lot of memes, but there's also very informative content sprinkled in there. I promise. I'm trying to make LinkedIn fun. There's too much of the same stuff on there. We got to break the mold. So check us out, finoptimal.com, finoptimal.com. Yeah, that's how you find us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for listening to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. If you like what you heard today, please follow us so that you can get updates when new episodes are released, and share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. You can also follow Poe Group Advisors on social media. Please visit our website for more information at pogroupadvisors.com.